Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and this is going to be your astrology forecast for this Monday, October 2nd of 2023. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. Hopefully you guys had a wonderful weekend. Mercury is out of shadow right now, right? And yeah, we have a lot of interesting things happening on this Monday. So it's definitely not going to be a boring Monday. That is for sure. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. As you can see, I'm not in my usual setup today. We're going to be using Astro Seat today instead of Astro Gold. That's sitting for the next several days. So, you may do and stuff like that, but we still are going to be able to bring you guys the astrology and channel this, guys. It's going to be a good one. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. So we do have the moon, which is going to be finishing up in Taurus today. I mean, it'll go into Gemini like early, essentially the following morning. But, we do have this moon here in Taurus, at 19 degrees starting off the day. And there's going to be a lot of interesting things happening today. One, we have, of course, Mercury here at 25 degrees, making an opposition to Neptune retrograde here at 25 degrees of Pisces. This is major. This has been building up for some time now. You're going to, of course, have at the same time that this is happening, Mercury that is going to be in quincunx to the North Node in Aries. And now that Mercury is out of shadow, we can definitely start to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, but then it gets checked immediately by this Neptune. And Neptune's sort of like, especially with it being retrograde, this is definitely a time where people can get really caught up in their delusions of grandeur, especially since this is going to be very spiritual in nature too, because 2 plus 5 is 7. So this is a very Neptunian degree here. It's a very Piscean degree. So Mercury, like I said, is trying to figure some things out. It's out of shadow. It's moving forward. It's trying to get to Libra, right? And, trying to catch up to the sun. But in opposition to Neptune, this is definitely one of those moments where it's like, we may feel like we have things figured out, but then Neptune comes in here and just throws like a giant wave at us, and then another wave, and then another wave, and then another wave, right? Remember, I was saying like Neptune retrograde, I'm saying that's Neptune actually being awake. So this could be an interesting moment where it allows for some lucidity to come through, but especially if we're wanting things to look a certain way, but really it's like the whole, like, things just may not necessarily make sense today. I think this is going to be a day where we're trying to make sense of some things, but not a whole lot is going to really make sense. And this is just the tip of the iceberg with this opposition, right? It's going to be, even though Mercury is at home in Virgo and Neptune's at home in Pisces, it's tough to really say who actually wins this battle. Sure, Mercury is out of shadow, and sure, Neptune is retrograde, but this is very much so, I don't know who wins this opposition, to be fair. Maybe because of the degree, Neptune slightly edges out Mercury, but this is like an overtime win. This is like at the buzzer. It's like a buzzer beater shot. This is definitely one of those moments where it's sort of like, especially with our mind, if we get too caught up in us wanting to have things look a certain way, and we get too caught up in trying to figure it all out, because that's the other thing about this too. If you go into this day thinking that you're going to figure everything out, despite the fact that Mercury is out of shadow and the personal planets are moving forward, then you're not going to really have the greatest of times, because we still have Uranus, Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto all retrograding. Now, albeit Pluto is slowing down and is going to come direct in a few weeks, right? But that's the thing about this. I felt like this whole past weekend, and even a little bit of today, is sort of like this don't jump the gun kind of energy, where it's like the universe is like, all right, things are about to start getting clearer, things are about to start opening up, but do we really want to just try and rush things right now just because we feel like we have a little bit of reprieve? I think we're all kind of feeling like that. A Mercury opposed Neptune, especially being at the degree that it's at, you want to just be on the lookout for, this is going to sound bad. This is like overdose kind of energy with this opposition. This is the energy where people may start to lose it. This is the energy where people really start to. This is opposition that can bring up anxiety, apprehension. I would say anxiety probably more so than depression, but it could bring up that as well. It's a opposition that can definitely kind of, you know, amplify, you know, mental health kind of issues. And being that it's at 25 degrees, it makes it even weirder because it kind of makes it more existential. It's the kind of opposition where it's like you can get really into your head thinking that your life has to be a certain way, and if it's not a certain way, then you feel like the universe is against you. So don't go into this feeling like the universe is against you. The way that you get through this will actually end up being with a grand earth trine that happens later on in the day, because the moon will be trine over to Mercury as well as trining over to Pluto. In fact, I'll go ahead and just move this forward. We'll move this forward 6 hours. How about that? We'll do it well, no, we'll do 3 hours at a time. How about that? We'll do 3 hours at a time. So coming up to 9:05 Eastern Standard Time, right? You're going to see that moon. It's going to hit that 20-degree mark, right? What's interesting also about this day is that you're going to see Venus here at 24 degrees, and it will actually come to 25 degrees later on in the day. So that you have that Mercury here at 25:44. 25:54, so it's coming to its apex. If you move this forward another 3 hours, you'll see that with hold on, let me move that down. Yeah, I don't have my mouse in, so you move this forward and you'll see, bam, they're going to apex pretty much around noontime here on the East Coast. That's when they come to their apex. This is happening at the same time that the moon is on Uranus. This is the reason why I said that you don't really want to lose your head this week, this day, because we have a lot of potent energy with this opposition with Mercury and Neptune happening at the same time that the moon is conjuncting Uranus and Taurus. Now, granted, the moon is exalted in Taurus. It loves to be in Taurus, so it can be a very grounding kind of energy. This is the kind of day where you want to take this sort of opposition, if you will. This is going to be a day that could provide some newfound understanding. If we just allow ourselves to be open to the messages from the universe and not overly judge ourselves, I think we all are looking for some solutions right now. And I think we'll probably start to get some solutions. We'll start to filter in. But it's sort of like, say if you have like a 100 question test, right? We may know how to do 60 to 70% of that test, like by heart, right? It's that other 20 to 30% where we're a little shaky on. If we freak out over that 20 to 30% right now, then we can really find ourselves having like these weird breakdowns, these weird meltdowns, especially with the moon on top of Uranus and Taurus. Could be conversations that come out of nowhere that could potentially rock our emotions and stuff. Just like I said, weird things kind of coming out of nowhere. Remember, Uranus rules earthquakes. So this can be a day, especially with the apex of this opposition and a moon on top of Uranus. These can be emotions that literally come out of nowhere that can kind of shake the foundation of our day and kind of knock us off our equilibrium too. I think that's the other thing about this too, is that we have all this energy in Libra, which is all about the equilibrium and stuff. So, it's definitely going to be an interesting day from that standpoint. Now, the way that we get through this, I feel, is by not judging whatever comes through, whatever comes up, not judging our emotions as they come up, not judging our thoughts that come through today, and to be open to receiving those messages from the universe. If you know 60 to 70% of that test that has 100 questions, more than likely you have some context clues on how to at least work on that last 20 to 30%, right? We have to use the context clues in our life to kind of leverage our ability to answer the rest of the test, if that makes any sense, right? I'm using that as a metaphor in this particular day, because I feel like it's not like all hope is lost. It's not like we don't have absolutely no clue on how to complete the rest of this 100-question test, if you will, for the purposes of this metaphor. We have some idea of how to do it. Now, we can freak out because maybe we want that 100, right? I think we all want that 100. Maybe you get a 95, maybe you get a 90, maybe you get an 80, maybe you get a 75, right? And if you're always like, oh, I've always been a straight A student, and if you get like an 88 or 89, you get like a B. This is the kind of day where like that person like freaks out. There's like, oh my gosh, what happened? I never get a B. I don't know what's going on here. And don't allow, a day like today to freak you out to the point where you just completely throw away all your progress. This is the kind of day where people may throw away their progress because of one little mistake, one little mishap, one little misjudgment, if you will, and maybe it doesn't go exactly the way that you want, or maybe you miss a couple of questions on the test, and you may even second guess some of your. This is the kind of day where we may second guess our answer on this test. We get the grade back, and it turns out that our first guess was the right guess. Sometimes we second guess things in life, but take that as a sign of, okay, maybe I should trust my intuition more. Okay, maybe I should trust my instincts more. You know what I mean? So we can take that energy, we can take those messages, and we can become the magician, we can become the alchemist and change it and have like a newfound understanding. I feel like a Mercury in Virgo, especially opposed Neptune with all this happening, is us realizing that we can be the magician and can control all the elements. We can be the avatar, right? And that we are so much more capable than we give ourselves credit for. And even in times of loss, even in times of challenge, we can take those moments and we can reflect on them, and we can use that to propel ourselves so we can succeed in the future, so we can stand up in the future, right? Like I said, I think it can be a very positive day. It's just going to be a bit challenging because if you are not conditioned to overcoming challenges, if you are not conditioned to, and that's the thing about it. I think another part about today, and I'm channeling this, but it's like there's an element to this day where people don't want to feel struggle. They don't want to feel challenge. They want to eliminate struggle. They want to eliminate pain. They want to eliminate these so-called negative emotions from this world and thinking that's going to bring some sort of peace. But in every film, TV show, or whatever depiction of a world that seems to eliminate all of the negative emotions, it seems like it's very peaceful, but really it's not. So that's the thing about this. We have to remind ourselves, like, you know what? We're meant to experience the whole range of emotions. We're meant to experience challenges, because if we don't get challenged, how will we ever grow? Why would you even come here if you didn't want to get challenged? That's the whole thing about this. So, move this forward another 3 hours. By 3:05 p.m., you're going to see, of course, Mercury come off of that opposition, although it's still there. Be at 26:09 at this point. The moon will be at 24 degrees. It's also going to make a square over to Venus, right? So that's a whole nother aspect right there too. And you can see a kite starting to form here. Y'all see this kite where Mercury opposing Neptune, and then you see the grand Earth trine that is starting to form between the moon, Pluto, and Mercury, right? So we have a day where we get oppositions, grand Earth trine, a square with the moon in Taurus squaring over to a Venus in Leo, right? A Venus in Leo that is 3 degrees away from the degree that it retrograded at, right? It's right there. It's so close. And this is the sort of energy where we can kind of taste it, right? We can kind of taste the so-called finish line, but there is no finish line. in life. The only finish line is death, right? So, but when it comes to what we want to create in this world, what we want to succeed, what we want to experience, there is no real finish line, if you will. But this is about, recognizing and really feeling our value, right? Now, the square to Venus in Leo is going to be like, well, shit, I think this is a time where we have to be honest with ourselves. The Venus retrograde in Leo, sometimes we can go for the shiny thing, right? But we have to be honest with ourselves. Do we really want to receive that thing? Do we really want to experience that thing? Do we really want that shiny object? I think sometimes, especially within the spiritual community, is that we will deny ourselves out of experiencing something because we feel like spiritually we may be above it, or that if we engage in this thing, that doesn't make us spiritual anymore, right? But you have to be honest with yourself. Do you really want to do that thing? Do you really want to experience that? Especially when it comes to matters of money. Especially when it comes to matters of money and finance and self-worth. A lot of people in the spiritual community would be like, why would I charge $1,000 for this service when I can just charge $100 and help more people? Yeah, but you probably are worth $1,000, right? And who said that you can't have tiers? Who said that you can't have a $100 service and a $1,000 service, right? Because there's someone out there that needs that $1,000 service, someone who is willing to pay that. But what will happen is that so many people will devalue themselves because they want to help people, they want to help the collective, and then they paint money as like this evil, bad thing. When there's always going to be a means of exchange, there's always going to be something physical that we exchange for value, whether it's simply the means of exchange or it's a resource like food or water or tools. There's always going to be some type of physical means of exchange. So we kind of have to get out of this whole idea that money is the root of all evil when that's not the case. That's not the case. Money didn't do shit. It's the people that wield the money, right? So we have to be honest about ourselves. I think this moon squaring over to Venus, being at 24 degrees, it is a degree that is very Venusian in quality. So it's about whether or not we can really receive, this, I will say like this higher quality, if you will, whether or not we really trust that we are worth that amount too. Because Venus and Leo definitely wants to put it out there and be flashy about it, but there could be a fear as to, well, if I put myself out there like this, will it be well received? That's the whole thing with the moon going over Uranus, squaring Venus too. It's like we want to be received well, so we may hesitate on maybe valuing ourselves at a certain level, right? Because we want to make sure that we're received well. But here's the thing. So long as you are standing in your truth and you are shining bright like the sun, and you're radiating that love, if you will, and you are in integrity, spiritual integrity, then you're Gucci. You're Gucci. You know what I'm saying? So now we move this forward another 3 hours, and you're going to see this moon hit 26 degrees. And when this moon hits 26 degrees, it really activates this kite that's forming. Because we have like this grand Earth trine between the moon, Mercury, and Pluto. Now, Mercury won't quite get to the trine with Pluto today. It'll be more like it gets very damn close. It gets very freaking close. I'll probably move it forward and I'll show you guys. But it seems like it's going to be more like an aspect, at least here on the East Coast, going from Monday into Tuesday. Right? But this grand Earth trine is forming. You have a kite, right? Because Pluto is sextiling Neptune, and then Neptune is sextiling the moon, and then you have this opposition. Now the numbers aren't exact, but they're all within about a 2-degree orb of each other. So, like I said, and these things are pointing towards Neptune. It's interesting too. So, like if this was like the kite, right? The strings will probably be like somewhere right here or like right here, right? And then you're trying to pull, right? So like the top of the kite is the Neptune part, right? And Venus, that's like kind of like where we are, right? So there's this element here where it's like the way that we get this kite up off the ground the way that we get it up off the ground is that we really, no, it's not Venus, excuse me, Mercury. The way that we get this kite off the ground, right, is that Mercury here, 26 degrees, 2 plus 6 is 8, which is a very Saturnian. So we had to commit ourselves to a daily reality that is going to reflect what it is that we were actually trying to bring in, right? And believe it or not, it's pretty simple. We've got to remember the North Node is in Aries, right? Now, Chiron is in too, but the North Node is in Aries. So it's actually pretty simple. Okay, what do you want to do? Do that thing. And it sounds easy, like you just like 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? But when you live in a world where 2 plus 2 can equal 5, then, and you get too caught up in that, then, simplicity and common sense can kind of go out the window. This is a day that can hopefully reinstill some common sense in people, but it's also going to be a day where people probably double down on things that don't actually make sense. That are way, way out there. Just think about that. So the way that we can kind of get this kite up is by, committing ourselves to like, well, you know what? Even when things break down, even if I don't have a perfect plan, that doesn't mean that I give up, and that doesn't mean that I stop trying, right? That's what this whole Mercury in Virgo is really teaching us, is that, we can have plans in life and they will break down. It's not always going to look perfect, but we got to keep at it. You know what I mean? And not pay attention to every single thought that comes through. Observe our thoughts that come through, but not pay so much attention to them where they start to rule our lives, right? And we start to question everything, question ourselves, ask ourselves, like get really down on ourselves because we haven't achieved certain things by certain points in our life. This is definitely a time, like I said, where we all are trying to find some solutions. And I think today is a day where we actually can find some solutions, or at the very least, get some context clues on how to navigate this thing. Today is a day about context clues and how to navigate it, right? So, we can go ahead and move it forward again. It's going to hit 9:05, and by the time it hits 9:05, you're going to see that moon at 27 degrees. So that's going to be tightening the trine with Pluto at that point. Venus is here at 25 degrees. And that's the other thing about this too. There's technically a double yod that is forming. What's the yod? A yod is what happens when two planets are sextile to each other, are quincunxing another energy. So you have Neptune and Pluto. Now it's within a perfect 2-degree orb at this point, 2554, 2754, and they are making a yod quincunxing over to Venus, right? So you got two aquastrides from across the room focusing on Venus, right? Now there's another one at the same time. What is that one? Well, it actually happened with it actually is a couple of different ones, but the main one is Neptune and the Moon making a yod over to Mars in the South Node. Mainly, I would say the South Node, right? Because it was like because even when the moon was at 25 degrees, it is within a 2-degree orb. So it's like we get a yod over to Mars and the South Node. So Neptune is a part of 2 yods and an opposition today. There is a lot of focus on Neptune today, which is why I was saying that you want to take time today to kind of observe your thoughts, observe your emotions, try not to get too riled up by the emotions that come up today, the thoughts that come up today, because it really can have you start to think that something is way, way, way more off than it actually is. This can be, don't fall for the illusions today. Don't fall for the delusions. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of weird false flag type deal. Not like a major event. Like, I'm not talking like a Gulf of Tonkin kind of thing. I'm talking more like a thing that will just, like a spell, if you will. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a spell that is casted on people today, and it's used to distract people from something else, right? Would not be surprised if that happened. I just saw that Canada is actually about to start monitoring podcasts and regulating podcasts. That's rough. So I'm just saying, like, today is a day with so much potent energy, a grand earth trine, a kite, two yods, a major opposition. It's a freaking big deal of a day. And the way that you get through it is by taking those deep breaths, realizing that you're human, acknowledging that there's going to be challenges in life, acknowledging that you're not perfect, but shit, you made it to this moment. You're here, you're moving, you're breathing. This is about appreciating what we have in our lives, appreciating the power and the gifts, appreciating it's like the fact that you even want to better your life right now. Because not everyone's in that place. Not everyone's in the place where they want to better their life. Some people are in the place where they are stuck in major ruts, and there's like it's not even so much they're even are looking for a way out anymore. They're not even looking anymore. They're just there. Like they've accepted that reality. But you don't have to accept that reality that you are stuck and that you can't move forward and that you can't have nice things. You don't have to accept that reality. This is a day that reminds us that, there is so much more magic and beauty to this world if we open our eyes to see it. And while it may be challenging, while it may be difficult, that we can absolutely get through it. And we can find the people in our life to help support us through it as well. So definitely a very interesting day. A lot of things happening too. If anything, you can just tell by, I know sometimes I wonder if I'm explaining these transits to you guys well enough, but hopefully, even just by the energy in my voice, my expression, and just y'all can see all that sort of stuff, that it kind of conveys the message of what the energies are for the day. And this is a day that a, a lot of people are going to remember this day. This is a day where it may seem subtle in some ways, but it is a major just kind of shift. It's going to be a major shifting energy for like a lot of people. And we haven't even gotten to the eclipses yet. So just think about that. Let's go ahead and get into the cards, shall we? I've already shuffled this deck a good bit, but let me just go ahead and give it another little shuffle here. And then let's see what we got. Yeah, we have the Knight of Bones, or the Knight of Wands in reverse. The Knight of Wands in reverse. This is definitely not a day where you want to rush right into war. Not really a day where you want to rush right into action. This is a day where we want to be a lot more strategic about the way that we move. The Knight of Wands definitely wants to kind of rush into war, like very passionate, very fiery, very much so wants to just kind of go into it. Now, what's interesting is that this is like a kid riding on top of a viper in this card. So in reverse, I kind of almost feel like, we may be afraid to get up on the viper. Maybe we are afraid to kind of mount this life that we kind of envision for ourselves, because we wonder if we're worthy of that life, if we're worthy of those experiences that we want, that we desire, that is your birthright. We may be worried and fearful that when we mount this, and in this card, it's of course a viper, but it's like if you just think about the life that you want, we may worry whether or not we are capable of writing that life. But you absolutely are. Today just kind of brings up the fear of whether or not you actually can live that life and whether you can actually do that. Another clarification card. Yeah, so we have the Lovers card in reverse. The Lovers card in reverse. So I think romantic. I don't really see like a whole lot of stuff happening like romantically today. I don't really see a whole lot of things happening as far as relationship stuff today. Now, Venus is involved in a lot of things, and of course, we do have one of the yods that's pointing to the South Node in Libra. So there definitely can be sort of like this, kind of wondering whether or not we can connect with this new life or this new even version of ourselves. This doesn't necessarily have to mean like twin flames or lovers. This could be like yourself, and maybe we're looking at ourselves in the mirror today. We're looking at that version of ourselves that we really want to aspire to be, and we're wondering, well, can I actually marry that version? Well, that version does exist already, right? Bottom of the deck, we have the ace. No, excuse me. We have the king of bows in reverse. The king of bows in reverse, or the king of swords. So yeah, you're definitely not going to necessarily have all of the intel today. So if you don't have all of the intel today, don't take an action that you would take if you have all the intel. You know what I'm saying? This is not the kind of day where it's like, oh, well, okay, so their army is moving in that direction and not that direction. I wasn't really expecting that. Well, let me go with my original plan anyways. Like, this is not the day to really do that. This is sort of like the day to be kind of open to the messages that are coming through, see what the universe is going to be delivering, know that you can mount this viper, if you will. And the viper, I feel like, is in this case like a metaphor for your life and stuff like that, which may seem scary and intense, but this kid is writing it no problem. He's smiling. Wish it was focused, stuff like that, but he's smiling. He's good. He's Gucci, right? So believe it or not, and I think this what's coming through now is just like, if it doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. So don't sell yourself short. If it doesn't scare you, it's not big enough, right? So take that for what it is, but that's just really what I'm kind of feeling right here. For some of you guys, it could be a relationship. Maybe you're ready to actually, not be in a situationship anymore or an entanglement, and maybe you're ready to finally commit to that person, but maybe it's scary because you haven't had a stable relationship and who knows how long, or maybe you haven't had a boyfriend or girlfriend since high school, but this is someone that you really, really connect with, but you're afraid to open up your heart and stuff like that. If it doesn't scare you, it's probably not big enough, right? We have the card of communication. The card of communication. The frequency of communication supports our ability to exchange information in many different forms. It reminds us to run every piece of information, both incoming and outgoing, through our heart, the center of our truth, to stay in the flow of source and balance exchange. Through our heart space. Through our heart space. We got to take that information and bring it through our heart space. We don't want to be too much in the root. We don't want to be too much up here too. A lot of times what happens in the spiritual community is that people will get stuck in their third chakra or their crown chakra, right? They'll get stuck in these areas, right? Or you also have people that will get stuck in their root chakra or their sacral chakra, right? It's interesting that the middle three chakras, I find generally for most people, are the most blocked, right? Solar plexus, heart, and throat. But yeah, you don't want to get too. You want them to be open and efficient and moving like that, right? So that's the thing about this. Don't get too caught up in those upper chakras. Don't get too caught up in those lower chakras. Run the communication from the universe that comes through today. Run it through your heart-centered truth and see what comes up today. That is going to do it for your astrology forecast today. I hope that you all enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I definitely appreciate it. If you would like to have a personal reading with me, beloved, you can follow the link in the description below to my website, jphoenix.com. And as always, y'all take care, stay blessed, have a wonderful Monday. I will see you guys on Tuesday's astrology forecast. Peace.